President Trump appealing for unity in his speech to Congress this week, a moment that now feels like it was a long time ago. And we're back with the panel. Dana, President Trump gave in that speech to Congress what most people think was
Three out of 4 people trust their social network for car advice. Who's your guru? Want the real deal on how to find a great car? Car Gurus does all the work to make it fast and easy to find great deals from top-rated dealers near you. CarGurus.com. Know the deal.
Above the airport, and that would be the Supreme Court nomination that has got to figure out a way to get to land. And you're going to have a debt ceiling debate in a couple of weeks as well. So lots of things happen. You've got to figure out how to sequence these things. Obamacare repeal and replacement will be first.
Well,
it'll be hard.
Let's talk about that, Bob, because there is talk on Obamacare that House Speaker Ryan is going to end up putting a bill on the floor that he knows some conservatives in his own caucus think is too soft, still creates a government entitlement, uses these refundable tax credits to pay for it, and basically dare conservatives to block it, saying, if you'd want to stop repealing Obamacare, it's on you. That's a pretty high-risk strategy, isn't it?
And if you take people and put them on sodium pentothal, the truth serum, and say, do you understand Obamacare? Everyone will agree they're not sure that they do. There's splits in the Republican Party in the House and in the Senate. There's splits in the White House. It's going to be interesting to see if this comes together at all in a reasonable period of time.
Do you think that Ryan might really do that, not know that he has the votes and just put it out there and basically play chicken with House conservatives?
Well, Ryan has said privately he thinks he has a good relationship with Trump on these domestic issues and that he can kind of call the shots. We're going to see. I'm not going to say a year or two again, but this could take a long time. And there's this sense of, oh, you can push a button and take a very complex troubled law and fix it is a fantasy.
Laura, let's drill down a little bit on a couple of the big political differences in Obamacare. One has to do with this question of how you're going to help lower income people pay for insurance, people who aren't covered by Medicaid, and there's this idea of refundable tax credits. People would get money. As you know, some of the more conservative people say, hey, that's just another name for subsidies. It's the same deal, and you're creating a new entitlement. There's also this question about the 11 million people who gain coverage under the expansion of Medicaid. What happens to them? Those are really sizable issues.
It's always hard when you create a new entitlement to pull back on that entitlement. That's why elections matter. When President Obama won in 2008, he came in, he passed Obamacare with not a single Republican vote, and now it's such a labyrinthine a mess of a piece of legislation that's like that old game Kerplunk. You pull one stick. It's always hard when you create a new entitlement out and the whole thing falls apart. I would say this, Chris, and a lot of conservatives who call into my radio show, they believe Donald Trump ran on a very serious reform agenda, that you weren't just going to be tinkering with some of these behemoths of government programs, you were really going to tackle them. And that means bring the cost of health care down. He talked about that a little bit in his speech. Prescription drug prices, which are skyrocketing. A lot of conservatives are calling the cost of health care, which is, it needs to be busted up and dealt with by removing the antitrust protections. They believe Donald Trump ran on a... Those are things that a lot of the Republicans don't want to tackle. That would actually bring health care costs down by almost 60 to 70%, says experts like Ramin Osqui, a renowned cardiologist in Washington. That would bring care down so much that people could go to the doctor for a sore throat or a sprained ankle, pay nothing for it. But we're going to tinker with the mandate and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Meanwhile, we might leave this IPAB board, otherwise known as the death panel, healthcare, still which in is the legislation. It needs to be could just like survive in the Ryan legislation, which could lead to huge cuts in coverage down the road. For renowned cardiologist in Washington, that would bring care down so much. People could go to the doctor. The president needs to use his political capital and his election victory and go to Capitol Hill and be confident in what he wants and make that case to the American people. I don't think it can all be on Paul Ryan's lead to huge cuts in coverage down the road in Washington.
But let me bring Peter in here, because as Laura describes it, there is a huge political debate. Even after 7 years of talking about repealing Obamacare, there's still a huge debate about how to replace it. And then you've also got the tax reform and this huge fight, and there are a bunch of them, but the one that sort of has risen to the surface is about the border adjustment tax and whether you're going to tax.
That would bring care down in what he wants and make that case to the American
debate that the Trump, even after 7 years of talking about repealing Obamacare, there's still both in terms of political strategy, legislative strategy, and also in terms of substance of how to get both of these through.
What's really interesting about President Trump's team is that they're actually not on the same page on a lot of these issues, and that they're playing
with each other,
and that they're playing these debates out pretty publicly. I mean, on the border adjustment tax, as you mentioned, you've got the Bannon wing of
huge
the
debate about tax and whether you're going to tax. That would bring political strategy, legislative strategy, and also
National Economics Advisor wing saying no, that's not the way we want to go, and they don't know, and they're having these fights out in a very public way, which I think is different than some other White House.
But how do you push legislation of how to get both of these through?
It was really interesting.
Congress, if you don't have a clear strategy coming from the top, from the president.
That's ultimately going to be the key, right? Does the president make up his mind? At this point, he hasn't on some of these big issues, and he has
about tax and whether you're going to tax. That would bring political strategy
than some other White
House. In terms of substance of how to get both of these through.
It was really interesting, and everybody feels entitled and emboldened to have this debate because he hasn't said it yet.
We got about 30 seconds left, though. I mean, I think it would be fair to say that this president is good on the broad strokes, not so interested in tax. When are you going to tax? That would bring political strategy. Find detail here. Well, is going to be a tax credit? Is there not going to be? What's going to happen on the death panel board? Does this president going to get engaged in that and start calling people and saying, I need your support for...
Well, he just said this week, I think, he said, look, who knew it was so complicated to do health care? Well, a lot of people knew it was that complicated. He's discovering it. He's a new president. He's not experienced in politics, so we'll see how he learns.
Thanks, panel. See you next Sunday. Up next, our Power Player of the Week, an exciting new face in the Show Me state.
When we went after Wall Street, we got what we could get. That ends today.
He is not going to stop.
Never yield to the enemy.
I'm not safe. We gotta finish him.
Billions.
The president's going to get engaged in that and start to see how he learns. Thanks, panel. See you next Sunday. Up next, our Power.
It is not a choice. It is a necessity.
So what changes are coming and when? Must-see insight on the first 100 days.
I wasn't sleeping well. My neck would be
Player of
I had
Never
memory foams, I
yield to
had feather
the
pillows, and I'd always wake up with neck pain, and I had constant headaches. After sleeping on my pillow, I didn't wake up with the headaches. I was more aligned. Everything felt good.
I didn't realize the connection between the pillow and sleep. When I switched to my pillow, I got a better night's sleep, and I love it.
So what changes are coming and when? Must-see insight on the first 100 days.
Adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it holds that support all night long to take the pressure off your shoulders and keep your neck aligned regardless of your sleeping position, so you get the best night's sleep of your life. Order now.
I wasn't
Felt good.
I didn't realize the connection between the pillow and sleep.
Premium. Be sure to use the promo code on your screen.